Want to know a great self-assessment technique? A technique that helps you self-assess your English, your linguistic repertoire, and the ability to express yourself in English in a variety of ways? Then stay with me. Welcome to my channel. Io sono Miriam Romeo e se capisci l'inglese ma non riesci a parlarlo come vorresti, then I would love to be your English coach. And if you would like to know 5 easy tips to fix your English pronunciation right now, you can go click on the link in my description box below. So today I want to tell you about this useful technique that I've come up with and that I use with all my students that helps you self-assess how much English you know. And I like to call this technique the game of definitions. In all languages, there's this one specific book that is the most difficult book to write, in my opinion, meaning that it contains the best example of the use of that specific language. And that book is called Dictionary, because the definitions have to be clear, precise, understandable, very efficient, and misunderstanding proof. So yes, dictionaries are the most difficult books to write, in my opinion, because definitions are the most difficult thing to do in a specific language, even in your first language. Because you can be very proficient in a language, but defining something, a concept, an object, is very difficult. It's something else. And therefore, it's a type of exercise that can be very useful to self-assess our knowledge of that language. You can even use it to assess your Italian or your first language if it's not Italian. There are things that are pretty easy to give definitions of, and there are things, words, concepts that are not easy at all. We use many words daily in our first language, but if we had to give a definition of that word, of that concept, of that object, we will find it very hard. We wouldn't know what to say. You can try it for yourself. In Italian, you can try and say out loud or try and write it down. Give the definition of a color. What is a color? Can you define a color in your first language? It's not that easy, is it? So this game of definitions that I like to use with my students consists of simply picking a word and trying to give its definition in English. And the goal is not necessarily to give a dictionary-like definition. The goal is for you to be understood, and the definition has to be efficient, clear, concise, straightforward, and again, misunderstanding proof. Meaning that if you're giving the definition of a pencil, my definition can only apply to a pencil and not to a pen or to another writing tool, okay? Let's say we're giving the definition of a pencil, okay? So, what is a pencil? A pencil is an object, a small object that you hold in your hand and you use to write with, and it's usually made out of wood, and the tip is made out of graphite, and the graphite, compared to ink, is not as permanent. So it's something that you write with, but you can then erase. I don't know, maybe, okay? If I give you that definition, you will understand I'm talking about a pencil, right? So there are different types of definitions. There are definitions that are pretty simple to give, and there are some definitions, some words, some concepts that are very, very hard to define. Like again, a color. But even those definitions, the ones that seem impossible, are good for you to exercise with. So just as there are different types of definitions, easier ones, harder ones, there are different ways that you can approach, that you can play this game of definitions. You can pretend that someone foreign is asking you for an explanation for the meaning of something that may be very specific to Italian culture, and this person only speaks English. So they may be asking you, what is limoncello? And you have to explain in English what limoncello is. Or you can pretend that a small child is asking you, what is an app? And you have to try and give your best clear, simple definition of what an app is. Or you can just try and give the definition, your definition of a very difficult concept, or of something that is not difficult per se, like something that we see every day, but that you never have to give the definition of in your language, in your first language, in any language for that matter, like a window. What's a window? Can you define a window? So in the first case, you're going to have to give examples. In the second case, the one with the child, you have to give a definition, pretending that you're talking to someone who has a very different knowledge and experience of the world than you. So you have to be, your language has to be even more simple. And you can try right now. You can pause the video for a minute and try and give your English definition of a window, again, or of an app, or whatever you want. Or you can try and do this when the video is over. But the point of this game of definitions overall is for you to actually know how good your English is, how well you can express yourself in English. Because you may know a lot of words, but can you put them together fast and in a very efficient, precise, and clear way? Would you be able, for example, on the spot, to give me a definition of a table? It's much more difficult than you may think. And that's why this exercise is very useful, because it forces you to improve your use of English, because giving definitions is the most difficult thing you can do in any language. So if you can do that, when it comes to having a real conversation, you will feel so much more comfortable, so much more confident in your ability to express yourself in English. If someone asks you a question, you will feel so much more at ease with giving a spontaneous and on-the-spot answer. Of course, a little side note, but a very important one, which goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway, just in case. Just stop using bilingual dictionaries at this point. Only use monolingual dictionaries if you want to improve your linguistic repertoire, your English vocabulary, your English ability to express yourself, to say different types of things. Just start using monolingual dictionaries only. So when you're looking for a word that you don't know the meaning of, instead of looking it up on a bilingual dictionary and see the translation in Italian, which doesn't help you at all, just read the definition of that word. And if you don't understand that definition, pick the most difficult word in the definition and go look up the definition of that word, okay? Reading the definitions on a monolingual dictionary or app is a very useful practice, and it's a very important step for you to take today, to start taking today, because your knowledge of English will improve so much. You know, reading is important in general, and the more you read in a language, the more your knowledge of that language will improve, and so will your ability to express yourself in that language, of course. And with monolingual dictionaries, that's even more true. Okay, but the main point of this video was not for me to tell you to go read a dictionary, okay? The main point of this video is that I want you to give this game of definitions a try. Just give it a go. Even while you're driving, it doesn't take a lot of time. You can just be driving and you pick a word, or you just see something that's in front of you and try and give the definitions of it. You can give the definitions of your hand, of the steering wheel, of the sky, the streets, the building, the trees, anything. And again, you can also try different types of definitions. Pretend that you're giving this definition to a child or to a foreign person who doesn't know Italian culture. You can experiment, you can have fun with it. And that way you will actually know how good at expressing yourself in English you are. I hope you like this video and I hope you find this helpful and that you try this technique, because it's actually really useful and super fun and easy to do. And why don't you try right now and give me your definition of a video right in the comments, write it down. And don't forget to click on the link below to get your free pronunciation lesson. Thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.